Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time, this moment.
That didn't go live. Let's do that one more time.
Dipshit.
I did it before.
Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as...
No,
Did it again?
Yeah, it's not pressing. Hang on. Try it again. What's going on?
Do you want me to press it?
Yeah, you try and press it. Just having trouble connecting. Please check your... Okay.
Do you want me to set it off if Pete's
Yeah,
not
try.
doing it? Oh, God. Just do it.
Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time, this moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome, take over. The time is now.
Well, a great start that was. Oh, it was showing up internet not connecting here and stuff like that. So we must have actually been live because people are laughing at us. So my fault, and my internet connection's fault. But how are you? Especially for the new intro and everything. How are you?
All right.
Very good. I tell you what, two things. That intro is class. But you go through the guests that we've had. We've had some amazing guests.
That's only a touch of the iceberg there. Tip of the iceberg, even. Yeah, no, we've had some amazing guests on through the years. We can nearly say that at this stage, and we will have more to come, as always. But what are we here for tonight? We're here to talk about the Everton Newcastle game from yesterday. But first of all, how are you, lads? All good?
Yeah,
very good.
That's normal.
Very good, very good. Of course, Pete, you made it to the game. Here you are at the game. Bird's eye view.
Yeah, just a bit. Honestly, I'm not a fan of height, so when I realised how high we were at the top, my legs did shake a little bit. But no, it was a great view. I've got to say, first and foremost, massive thanks to Richie. Obviously, he sorted me out with the tickets to be able to go to the game and take my little girl for her second game at St James's. So appreciate that, mate.
All right, mate.
Yeah, it was a really nice to be under the lights for a change and see the atmosphere and the experience from that point of view. So yeah, I'm very, very happy.
Nice one. Hannah, bit of breaking news. We have a message. What? We have a message.
Congratulations.
Jorgen, thank you very much. Thanks very much for that, Jorgen. Happy to see us win, of course, against Everton.
Of course.
Jorgen will make plenty of appearances unloaded as we go through the season. Rightio, let's get down to it. Let's look at the team sheets. So here's the Newcastle team for last night. Any surprises to you, lads? It's the same team as last time.
No, not for me. No, not for me at all. I don't know about you, Richie.
No, to be fair, we had a good little half an hour conversation when you came to get the tickets last night, didn't we? And we were going to what's the team going to be? Is he going to make changes or not? And then we both said, in these sort of games, we need to play our strongest lineup against the most winnable games. If you're going to rest anyone, potentially rest them on Sunday. And sure enough, they went out with the strongest possible side. You know, at the end of the day, They had a fantastic game at Man United on Sunday. No one deserved to be dropped unless they were going to rest, because obviously it's been a 3-game week. But no, they all deserve to have their place. And yeah, that was basically our thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah, spot on.
Cool. Listen, yeah, no surprise for me really. Yeah, there was I suppose it was talk that maybe Target would come in for Burn, but yeah, no, it wasn't to be, and it worked out in the end. And of course, here's the Everton squad as well, and Pickford back in goal for Everton. He didn't turn up the last day, did he, to play against us when we played at St James's Park, but he was there last night, and fair play to him. There he is in the crowd, but you can't really see him there. Let's take a closer look at Jordan. Love the way it zooms in on Jordan Pickford then. Great, love that. But yeah, let's get into the game. Of course, started off, first 5 minutes, Bruno had a shot over the bar. 6 minutes, Calvert-Lewin got a yellow card. He's tackled on Bruno. 7 minutes, Murphy cuts inside and hit it over the bar. And stop me at any of these points, lads, if you want to jump in on saying anything specific. There's good kind of link-up play from Newcastle. I thought in the first half an hour, but nothing really productive. Everton Everton were trying to go wide and capitalize, I suppose, on Byrne and the pace, and Gordon, who was on the wing that Byrne was playing in the Byrne was in left back, of course. Linton got a yellow card. Then after that, not many clear-cut chances until the 28th minute. There was a scramble in the box. Wilson put a ball in. Longstaff followed up after that. He should have really probably done better there. But then on the 30th minute, up step Miguel Almiron. Passes between Joe Linton, Bruno, and Miggy, loops the ball over Pickford. Here he is, Miggy. Bang. 1-0 Newcastle. What did you make of that, lads?
Got Richie.
Do you know what? I thought it was a really good build-up play as a team, full stop, from that, when they won it on the right-hand side, Miggy carrying it away. And I just loved the direct ball that Trippier put in. Normally you would get your foot around it, but he didn't. He sort of more, it was a direct flight sort of thing. It was more like he chopped it, wasn't it? Rather like it pinged it across. And then obviously the knockback was off. I think it was. Who was it? Was it the back? Yeah, it was Murphy. He looked as though Wilson was going to get it, wasn't he? And then obviously Corey got in front of Will, and luckily it fell straight to Joe Linton, who made a fantastic run to get into that position. Like we always say, we want our midfielders to make an effort to get in towards the end of the box, and that move actually showed it perfect, because you had Joe Linton and Bruno literally around the D, or just inside the box, which is where you always want your midfielders when you make an attacking threat. Obviously, he was able to lay it off to Bruno. Unfortunately, Bruno closed down. But he had just that time and composure to look up and play a lovely weighted pass to Miggy. And Miggy was the whole technique around it. It was just, he didn't panic. He was calm. I think that's got a lot to do with the confidence he's going through at the minute, because he's playing the best football part of his career at the minute, full stop, I'd say, with Miggy. And he just realised, I don't need to bend it. It was more about the flight. And he just got under enough. And it just to see little arms struggle to get that a little bit further, and he just couldn't get it. And it was, normally to be a normal keeper, you'd probably have to put that right in the top corner. But with Pickford, you've probably got a yard extra on it. So it was just a nice little chip, just under the bar. Never saving that. Quality finish once again by Miggy. I'm sure he's going for goal of the season contenders by himself at the minute, isn't he? I tell you what, 4 goals in 4 games in October. That's player of the month. It is.
he's playing unreal. Because yeah, it was a lovely goal. It's one from, I think this is probably, and you see him on the bench later on. We'll get to it, but he's where he gets taken off and is smiling from ear to ear. But look, sometimes you could just kind of pick him up and give him a big hug, I guess. Yeah, love that.
You know what? That security guy,
he's everywhere.
I've asked about him before, and I think it might have been Steve Hasty that mentioned who he was. But he's a legend. He's always there when the big signings come in, always welcoming the training ground. He's always there to greet the players as they arrive to the stadium. But stuff like that just shows me how close this team is. Is that even your security staff are part of it. They're all part of it. They all know and all part of the family. I love it. I love that little cuddle at the end. Yeah,
we should try and get him on the show. There we go. Why not?
I bet he's got some stories.
I bet he has. Yeah. He'd probably be busy though in January, I'd say. He'd be pretty busy moving players from A to B. Right. After that, then, not long after that, like 2 minutes after that, there was a lovely passing movement. And I think I put it in our own chat. And there was a back heel from Bruno, and then he got the ball back again later on in the movement. And he was so unlucky with the finish. He tried to place it in, and it just went wide of the post. So that was a lonely move. Newcastle then kind of did move up a gear for sure. And Bruno unlucky again on 36 minutes, and so it was. And then there was the little incident with the handbags incident with Gordon. Gordon with a dive, and Trippier telling him, "I didn't like that." Schär tried to shake some sense into him, and Pope got in the action as well. But it just showed the togetherness and the unity within the team as well. So there was some cards showing, but yeah, that took us to halftime. And so then we move on. Then of course Joe Linton did go down towards the end of that first half, and Willock came on for him at halftime. Calvert-Lewin got a save out of Pope, but it was offside. But he was there. He was when called upon. Wilson's pass. Wilson was very unselfish at times. It was once or twice he gave great balls in for others to try and take advantage of. Miggy on this occasion put the shot over. Everton were definitely better in the second half. I'll move on forward a bit here. 72 minutes. Murphy came off, Anderson on. Miggy came off, Fraser came on. There was Trippier's free kick. Yeah, and Willock got a header as well, just over the bar as well. Willock again, another header on the 85th minute. Wilson come off in the 85th minute to kind of give him just to make sure that he's okay, and give Wood a run out. And towards the end, Anderson had his shot blocked as well. So that kind of took us to the game, and full time result 1-0 Newcastle. Everyone happy. And of course the plaudits for the best defense in the Premier League, and that's proven now. That's not just us saying it; that's proven. So everyone happy, group hugs all around. What did you make of the game, lads? Pete, well, let's go with you first, Pete. You were at it.
Yeah. Look, it was a different type of game Wednesday. It wasn't pretty. By any stretch of the imagination. It was a very slow start, should we say. 26, 27 minutes. Very, very slow. Sluggish in some areas. It really felt like there was a bit of a hangover from Old Trafford, from how much energy and effort they put in. However, when they kicked into gear, they kicked into it. But look, let's be honest, by 27 minutes, Newcastle hadn't even clicked into first gear yet. But when they did, they were already way and above better than Everton, but already even in first gear. And that just shows you the levels between. It made me laugh, actually, that Lampard, the way he spoke after the game, but we can talk about that in a second. But once we kicked into gear, it was just, we just outplayed, outfought, outbattled everything with regards to Everton. They just did not know what to do. And some of the football was unbelievable. You talk about the Almiron goal, great little bit of football. A minute later that you just referred to, that little passage of play. If Bruno had put that in, it'd have been up there as goal of the season, team goal of the season. It was just unbelievable. And it just shows you the levels that we've got that we can go to when we're on it. And so, we got the job done. And, sometimes you have to go through games. And I'll go back to the 2012 season when we finished 5th, 2011, 2012. There were a lot of games that season that we won 1-0. And we got the goal and we literally just sat and we said, right, we got the goal, let's get the points. That was one of those games tonight. Knowing that it's a big week, 3-game week, not a lot of players to choose from. It was a game where we said, right, we need the 3 points. Let's go out there. Me and Rich talked about it before. Get your best players out there, get the job done. And then on Sunday, if you want to rest a few players that are tired, Shaws and whatever, give Lascelles a run out, give other players, Fraser, give them a run out and let them play against Tottenham. That's the way I see it. But I'm just so pleased that we've now got it in our locker that we can play teams like Everton midweek and still get the job done at playing at 50%, because that's all it was, in my opinion. It was 50%. That's all we needed to do to beat them. And that just shows where we are as a team, and that shows our levels now and what we've got to. And it's just so exciting to see.
Nice and Pete. Richie, your thoughts on the game as a whole?
Do you know what? It's pretty much echo what Pete says. It's one of those. Remember when everyone's turning around and say about Arsenal winning 1-0 all the time? It was one of those that we weren't our best, but we still got the win that was needed. And as Pete mentioned, that season we finished 5th. The amount of times that you win 1-0, and then obviously it can mean so much that you might not have played so well, but you've still got the result at the end of it. Now, if you look before the weekend's games, there was 4 teams that had conceded 9 goals at the start of the season, and surprisingly, Everton were joint with us before that Saturday's game, their weekend's games. And I think you've mainly got to put that down to the fact that you've got Cody and Tarkowski, who are 2 solid Premier League defenders who know the league inside and out, and it's obviously that's helped them get a bit more of a solid platform at the back sort of thing. I still think the weak and the wide areas, especially down that left-hand side, which, a lot of our best work came from last night, down that right-hand side against Mikolenko. I don't know if he's still trying to find his feet in the league and stuff like that, but the 2 in the middle, Cody and Tarkowski, you know what you're going to get. And it's like what when Trippier came in, when you've got a leader in that back line, it makes it hard to break down. So if you'd said, well, to be fair, Pete did say before the start of the game, Pete was like, oh, what do you think? I'm a little bit nervous. And I said, I think we'll win. He went, are you sure? I went, yeah, I think we'll win by the odd goal, whether 1-0 or 2-1. Because I think that's all it was going to take, and it proved last night, yes, that Everton had quite a lot of the ball, and they made it a difficult game for us because that centre-back pair is a lot more, as I said, it's a lot more solid, and it's really hard to break them down because there's that much experience in Cody and Tarkowski. I liked Onana. I thought he had a fantastic game for them, actually, in the middle. He wouldn't look out of place in our midfield as that, another battler alongside Joe Linton type thing. But it was, I think that was the thing. I knew it wasn't going to be a replica of last season's game when we won 3-1. It was going to be a hell of a lot harder game to break down from how they've started, and that proved to be the case. It's one classic bit of quality from Newcastle. To be fair, that 15 minute, I think me and Daz were speaking in the chat last night, in our WhatsApp chat, that 15-minute spell from when the goal came to half time, goal sort of lifted Newcastle and kicked them into gear. And I think the only bad thing about that 50 minutes was they didn't get the second, which would have killed them off. Because, but everybody, and I agree with what Frank Lampard and Conor Cody said to a degree, but it obviously didn't affect us, was the fact they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They couldn't even get a shot away because yes, I've mentioned that Cody and Tarkowski solidified their back line. Our back line will stop, and our keeper is just, it's just next level at the minute. I don't think I've seen Newcastle as a defensive unit be this good full stop ever since. I'm talking ever, not just this season. I'm talking about ever. And obviously, I've watched them since the late 80s. There's never ever been Newcastle defended as good as what they are now, and that's just a testament to not just the back five. That's a testament to the whole team, full stop. Because as I said numerous times, Eddie Howe said after the game, Nick Pope said after the game, it's not just the back five who defend. We defend from the front with the press, and that's where that's why we do so well defensively, because it's not just about the four at the back of the keeper, it's everybody and the work rate. And as you both know, and if anyone hasn't watched it, go and watch the Tifo video that was on YouTube yesterday. It explains how Newcastle have been transformed with that press and then the counter press. It's fantastic to watch it because you really get insight. And the fact that he actually shows you an example of the Man United game last year and then the Man United game this year, same position, same end, and what the difference is. It's just small little tweaks and stuff like that. But that was fantastic last night. And do you know what? As Pete said, if we can go out there, play at 50% or whatever, but we still get that one moment of quality that wins you the 3 points. We don't know how much that 3 points is going to matter towards the end of the season. There could be 3 points that helps us get a European place. Do you know what I mean? So
you never know.
You never know.
I agree with what both you said there, lads. And I'll give a bit of credit to Lampard as well, because they were shit in the first half, especially in that 15-minute spell that you pointed to, Richie. But they did fix their midfield in the second half, and they were a lot stronger. And it was a pity that we didn't get that extra goal that would just kill off the match, and we could have relaxed and taken off players a bit earlier, the likes of Wilson. But no, absolutely delighted with the win. And I'm going to go to the table next. But before I do, and the man that's on screen there, Russ, is where I'm going to go to next. Russ, and you might notice we have a new sponsor. The Radiator Shed is our new sponsor, and Russ, who's a fan of the show and always in the chat. So, but just let me tell you a bit about the Radiator Shed. So this is the website, radiatorshed.com. I will bring up the website again at a later date, but I just want to give people a heads up on the company first. And there's a nice little graphic here that we can put Richie in jail. I like this. This is what I like. Love this. That's nice. So thanks for those graphics, Russ. Well, I'll tell you a bit about the Radiator Shed. So the Radiator Shed are a northeast-based company with a century of leading industry knowledge at your disposal. They cover most regions in the UK and are building association with Age UK and mental health charities. The delivery direct is included in the price to mainland UK. They provide top quality materials from plate steel, providing longevity. All designs are manufactured in Italy. Aluminium radiators are very environmentally friendly and are perfect for heat source pumps. They offer a home service and will install if required. So anyone listening back to this on Spotify or Apple Music, the website is theradiatorshed, all one word.com. So check that out. And here's some radiators as well. They're giving a special mention tonight with Russ joining us for the first time with the channel. So here is the Fitzrover radiators. Here is the Hampstead.
Nice.
Well, I'm not doing it justice here. You'd have to go check out the website to check. These are the ones I really like. These are cool. Look at this. They look really fancy.
Was that a hint nudge to Russ there? Was it that?
he promised me I'm changing out all the radiators in the house. This is a radical Russ is going to come and fix all my radiators. Nice one. But check that out. You know where to go now. Theradiatorshed.com, and say hello to Russ. He's also in the chat as well. But I'm only going to touch on Russ's sponsors for now, because we'll touch on the rest of the sponsors later on. But I'm going to go straight into the table. I'm going to bring up the table, lads, because we are still sitting pretty in sixth spot. And I see, as you've mentioned, Fulham did score, and they are 1-0 up. Are they against Villa?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, okay, and it's still 0-0 in the Leeds Leicester game. as well. So that's like Leicester really need to win and Villa really need to win, or there could be a casualty tomorrow. There could be more resignations. There's enough resignations probably already today, but we won't get into that. So Newcastle sitting in sixth. So after the game last night as well, I was saying this is an interesting top seven. There's all the talk about the big six, but surely this is the big seven now. Can you guys see anyone from below seventh passing us out between now and the end of the season? This is my question. And look, if you look at West Ham, who traditionally be a contender for up there on the seventh spot, they're 7 points behind us. Have played the same amount of games. But can you see anyone? And look, Brighton are on a bad run of form with the new manager coming in with Potter going to Chelsea. Do you see anyone passing us out from seventh up? From seventh down. Anyone passing us out?
You know what? It's a really strange situation because the only one that I can see actually doing that are the team in 13th. You've just referred to them in West Ham, because they've got history in the last couple of years of being up there and challenging. But the one thing I always said, and I talked about it last year, we mentioned West Ham last year. With all of these teams, you're going to have moments where you're up there and you're challenging. Like Leicester had it when they finished fifth 2 years in a row. You got West Ham that are in top six or top seven 2 years in a row, but it's not sustained. And what you're seeing now is that drop off from West Ham. I don't see how they can maintain a European competition and continue to fight at domestic level. And I think they'll struggle this year, but I think they're the only ones that can, because if you look around and you look at Brighton, you thought, oh yeah, Brighton might have a good season. Brentford, they're all right. They'll do okay. But then they have dip-offs in form. We beat Brentford 5-1. Brighton couldn't beat Forest at home. It's these teams are dropping points all over the place, and it's not even really necessarily against the teams you'd expect them to drop points against. It's teams in and around them. Whereas teams like Everton, those teams that we're expected to beat, we are beating them. Yes, okay, we didn't beat Palace and Bournemouth, but we didn't lose those games, and we've not let it stop off low, and we're still flying, and we're still getting results, and we're still up there. So I don't see it. I do see it now as a top seven, potentially with Newcastle, providing that we can continue that consistency, providing that the next time we play, and I'm talking like after Spurs. So if I'm right in thinking, is that Villa the next one?
Yes.
Next weekend. Provided we go to Villa, whether they've got a new manager or not, Villa come to us and we beat them. Southampton, we go there and win. They're the games that you're expecting us to win. The Tottenhams and the Chelseas, they're up in the air. They could go either way. But if we keep doing that, we're putting ourselves right in that picture to be considered in that top seven. And look, Liverpool, although they've got a couple of back-to-back wins, they're not convincing. Man United, they played their best football last night against Tottenham. Still not convincing. Chelsea, not convincing. Tottenham, wow, they were dreadful last night. And we've got them next. Who's to say that we can't upset that apple cart? No reason why we cannot. But for me, West Ham are the only ones that I think that can provide that level of consistency over the course of the season to be able to rival us. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, just before we go to Richie, just another thought that we didn't get to play West Ham because those fixtures that fixture was called off with the Queen's death. But so that's going to be from January onwards. So that's another transfer window there that we can potentially bring on more players in. And okay, we don't know who else might be out, but we should hopefully have Isaac and ASM back in the mix as well. So extra firepower when it comes to both games in, hopefully against West Ham, who Pete has just identified there as one potential that could try and knock us off our top seven table there. Richie, your thoughts on the table?
I think, do you know what? If you'd said that after 10 games we'd been sixth, I think anyone would have snapped your hands off for it. We were realistic at the start of the season. We said anywhere between 10th and 7th is an improvement. when Pete did Battleground Europe, and we also had we made our comments on the start of the season. You know, I always thought that 7th was an outside chance to go for that European Conference place. That would be, you know, a fantastic achievement. To be fair, anywhere in the top 10 is an improvement, but 7th is just the achievement. I think the fact is that we're so consistent at the minute. Yes, okay, we weren't fantastic last night, but we were. You know, the team spirit was there. The intensity was still there when we didn't have the ball and stuff like that. You know, the teamwork, and that's been consistent all the way through. And as long as you've got that belief within your team, you'll never know what you'll get out of a game. Do you know what I mean? It's like last night was very similar to Sunday's game in a way where there was a lot of intensity in the first half. We were probably the better side in the first half, whereas the second half in probably both of the games, we didn't have this. No clear-cut chances really in both of those games, and then it got to a certain point where it was right. Do we hang on here and make sure we get? Would you have took a point before the game at Man United? Yes, you would have. Do you protect that? Yes, and they did that last night. Obviously, we had the goal to sort of defend, but we didn't literally just go right. That's it. In the half time, we protect what we've got. We tried to go out and build on that. Everton didn't really let us. I think, I don't think Joe Linton had a fantastic game the first half. Obviously, he had a knee injury. He got that bookered, but it also you could tell we missed him in the second half a bit as well, especially with Onana. I think that physical battle between those two was clear to say that obviously we missed him in the second half when he was on the pitch, when he was off the pitch. Should I say sorry? But it got the stage where we know, right? Okay, it might not be, and we're going to score another one, but they sure aren't going to score past us. And obviously, we protected that lead all the way through. And I've seen quite a few people on Twitter, and I don't know if any of you, either of you lads have seen it as well, where they were saying, how nervous are you now when you see Newcastle at 1-0? Do you fear that we're going to concede, or are you confident that we're going to hold out? I think because of how long we've been in this, where it's like 1-0's never a nice result during the game, you've always sort of. But I think last night it was there a little bit, but I was a little bit more relaxed because I couldn't see Everton breaking us down. But it's like Eddie Howe said in his interview, Jordan Pickford's got a good long ball, and they had some big target men in there. All it takes is a lucky ricochet, the ball to fall to someone, and they have a sweet strike. And sometimes you can't do anything about them. It's like, you look at Mickey's finish. There's nothing that any of them could have done about it, As I said, being fair to Jordan Pickford a little bit, you could have probably put De Gea or Lloris or whoever in goal, and they wouldn't have stopped that last night. So on that sort of thing, it's like, yeah, you are going to get times when you are going to get the rub of the green. You're going to have a goal against you. It's going to break you down and stuff like that. But I just didn't see it happening from Everton, so I was a little bit more relaxed last night. But if we were 1-0 up against Spurs on Sunday at Tottenham Hotspur, would I be a bit more nervous? Yeah, because they've got a lot more quality up front.
No, that's fair enough, Richie. Yeah, I think I still get a bit nervous because I remember the comeback that Everton had last season, and when they started upping their game a bit in the second half, I was getting a bit nervous then. I was thinking, why didn't we finish off one of the other chances? Actually, a bit of breaking news as well, that Leicester did score there a few minutes ago as well. That's why I was trying to refresh the table. I think it was an own goal. Pete was delighted. But yeah, that's the table. The table is too slow. We're faster than Google. So that is the table. Let's remove that off screen. How about we go to ratings next, lads? Is there anything that you want to, or do you want to go to is there a question or two, Richie?
Yes, there's some canny questions that have come in so far. I'll just go through them. Let's have a look. First of all, Gary's want to know where Chris is. It's obviously we all know that the Party Political have their conferences every year. Well, Avon have got their conference this week, so he's down in London. He's due back in the morning. That seems though. No, he's away with work, and he doesn't get back till tomorrow. So you'll probably be back with us for the review show for the Spurs game on Sunday night. So that was just to clear that one up there for you, Gary. Quick one for Pete. Obviously, I know he mentioned it briefly in the chat, the answer, but Shane wanted to know what the quality of your kit was like, Pete, close up.
Yeah, so Shane asked the question, I messaged him back in the chat. Really, really nice kit. I'll just drop it down. Really, really nice, comfortable kit. Really good quality. It sounds weird me saying that, but we've had kits over the years that haven't had very good quality to it. But yeah, really, really nice kit. Really happy with it. Looks very, very smart. So anyone thinking of getting one, definitely. I got the replica version. About £65. Yeah, well worth it. Well worth it. Really enjoyed. And I have to say, some people may not like this. Arrived in 2 days. No problem.
Who are you referring to there?
No. I'm just saying. I'm like no one in particular. But I'm
Hi,
just saying
Martin.
no. Lots of people over the summer had massive issues with Castore, and been like sent kits and different things from Newcastle United related. I never bought anything because of the problems that so many other people have, but I always said I would wait until later on in the season. I've got this now, and I wasn't expecting it, at least for a week or two. If I was lucky, came in 2 days. Very, very surprised. But yeah, very, very nice shirt. Love it.
Cool. Gary's got another quick point here that, and I think we all agree with this, that Anthony Gordon is a little skip rat. He was appalled last night, to be fair, wasn't he? To be fair, it's just a horrible person, isn't it, really? But there's some good questions I'm going to keep. Yeah, but the last one I was just going to bring up here from John Casely was when Wilson and Bruno start, we've played 9, won 6, drawn 3, lost none. So that just goes to show how pivotal those two players are for us in the starting lineup. So that's a nice little point there. Thanks for that little stat there, Jonathan. Go on, Daz. We'll go for the rating, and I'll stay the rest of the game.
Yeah, let's go with the rating. So, okay. So, actually, you know what? I've already forgotten to say. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that like button. And if you are interested also in joining us, it is $1.99 a month to become a member of Loaded. And there's prizes from our sponsors as well. So keep that in mind if you ever consider joining. And if you want to join, we've kind of discovered as well, because we've all made sure we're joined up, is that I don't know if it's possible to do it on a phone. We haven't been able to do it on a phone. So you have to kind of do it from a laptop or PC. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel and hit that like button. But yeah, let's go to the ratings. First up is Nick Pope. For me, I said safe pair of hands. When he was called upon, he was there. There was the one offside chance that Calvert-Lewin had, but he saved that as well. Yeah, he came out and volleyed it, I think, at one stage as well to clear it, the ball. So he's getting an 8 from me. Pete.
If we're talking about Nick Pope, I feel it's a really hard one because what did he actually do? Like, I don't.
There.
Couple of catches. That one clearance where he ran out in the second half and booted it clear, and then he took the striker's head off. But that's not it.
He did.
He's part of this brilliant back five.
Yeah, he did more pushing around.
He's a guy that stands up and is in yellow, and he never. You don't see him that often.
Yeah, we haven't this season. I was going to say I saw him pushing around Anthony Gordon more than actually doing anything on the pitch.
Oh yeah,
but you're right. He cleared the ball a few times. There was one collection that he made in the first half when it was whipped in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he just kind of settled everything down. Look, I give him a 7.5. Just purely on the fact that he didn't have anything to do. There was an interesting stat. We're just watching the game back. I obviously at the game didn't see it. Right at the end of the first half, it had how many touches both teams had in the opposition's final third, and Newcastle was on 50, and Everton were on 15. And that just tells you how much of the dominance it was. So yeah, 7.5 for me. But that doesn't mean that Nick Pope's not class, because he is.
Oh, that's fair enough. And your perspective might be slightly different than ours because you were at the game where we were watching it on telly. Richie, Nick Pope.
You know what? I don't go with the 0.5s or the 0.321 things that like Daz likes to do. So
You're missing out. Missing out.
no, it's old school, man. How are you? God, just go with the floor. Give them a 7, 8, whatever. And look, you've got every right. What Pete says, it's 7.5, and then you've got to look at it. You think we didn't have much to do, but what he did do, he did well. You know, he caught the ball when he needed to. As I said, that clearance, he was on his toes, came out. You know, relieved the pressure on the defence. So you start to think, right, okay, you go on that one, you think, all right, probably a 7 because he did go. But for me, I'm going to give it an 8. And the reason why I'm going to give it an 8 is because he had not much to do, you've still got to be switched on that entire game. And because our defence have been working so well in front of him, you can switch off. And obviously, you know, this is probably the first time realistically in his career where he's had a bit more time to do stuff. You know, like you look at he's been at Burnley. When he was at Burnley, they were constantly under the cosh. They were always, you know, like he's having to make a lot of saves every single week and stuff like that. Recently, he's not having to do that as much. So he is having a lot of time to think about what's going on and to stay switched on for that length of time. For me, I think that deserves a little bit more of a boost in his rating, just because we've all been there on a pitch before where you might switch off when you've played yourself, Pete, Daz, you know what I mean? You do switch off in games, but when you've got nothing to do and you're standing there in the box by yourself, do you know what I mean? Twiddling your thumbs pretty much like you had to do for last night, then yeah, it's a hard thing to do. So for mentally being strong, I'm going to boost it up to an 8.
An 8. You could have just gone like this to me.
I couldn't because if I go like that, I might agree with you or agree with me.
Joking with you. Right, next up, it's Trips. Trips, I'm giving him an 8.5. I did enjoy his tangle with he's telling off Gordon as well in the game. So 8.5 Trips. Richie.
Hey, ooh. Do you know what? I think I'll probably give him an 8 as well. 8, the same as Paul. I think he had a good, solid game. You know, him and Miggy worked well down that right-hand side. Didn't get much of it. I thought his set pieces weren't as good as they normally could be. So I said, obviously, that cross that set up the first goal, that was probably his best, delivery with the ball during the whole night. But I think if we could, I think he had a good chance of a few free kicks, but the delivery wasn't perfect. A couple of times he hit the first man, which we were always critical of last season when it was Shelby or Fraser. You've always got to beat the first man. So literally just probably because of his delivery last night, I'll just knock him down a little bit to the 8 rather than the 9. Because I thought apart from that, another fantastic, solid display. That, you know, the fact we all loved the fact the way he went and took on Anthony Gordon for the dive and stuff like that, and shows that leadership and the passion that he's got for the club. It's still weird to think that he hasn't even been at the club a year yet, and someone has got that passion. He had that passion for pretty much the first couple of games. We know when probably you really saw it when he came out, when he scored against Everton last year at the start of the year, and it's just built on that, and it was just great to see. But yeah, 8 for me.
Yeah, cool. Pete.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a 9. There are lots of reasons why. First and foremost, I talked about how flat Newcastle were for the first 26, 27 minutes. The reason why we upped our game was Trippier, and there was a few motions that Trippier was making to the team just before we upped our game. And he was pivotal why we started playing at a higher tempo. He set the tempo, the way he organised the team, the way he drove forward. There'll be some people in the chat that will mention about the fact that that he wasn't great from a defensive point of view, because he had it in his mind that he was going to be that attacking influence in that game. He led with the intensity, his pressing, the fact that he was getting stuck in. He led by example. Richie mentioned about the issue with Anthony Gordon. That wasn't by chance. He purposefully did that, and you could see it from in the stadium. And I've watched it back, and you can see when Anthony Gordon dived, because he did. You see Trippier make a beeline for him, and that wasn't to console him. That was to intentionally wind him up and to create an issue. And he did it in such a subtle way, and it was so well handled by him. He set the example, and it almost, the reaction from Shaw, then the reaction from Wilson, and the reaction from everyone else, what it did, it raised everybody in the stadium and it got everybody up. So he knew we needed that G up. He knew that the players needed that G up. He knew the fans needed that G up. He set the tone. He set the example. That's not something that comes easily. Players don't do that just like that. He's learned that. He probably learns it from Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone's absolutely spot on at doing that and creating those moments. He brought his experience into that situation to create a moment for Newcastle and to raise our levels. Like, he was pivotal in that. Not to mention the fact that anything good that came from Newcastle last night came and started with him. He was so good in his connections with Almiron and Bruno. That little triangle of passing and play between those three is so good. They've got such a good connection there. And yeah, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. Really, really good. Set by example. Deliveries were spot on. I can't fault him. And for that leadership and that level of intensity that he maintained throughout the whole of the 90 minutes. And then it kind of concluded with that picture that you put on with them all being together. That together moment, that spot on picture, you can see he's orchestrated that. He's orchestrated that. He's got everyone together. They create those moments after the game. It's almost like that bond, that back five together. They're a unit. And when they get those clean sheets, it's like they've earned it together and they celebrate together. And I love the fact that they do that. That's come from Trippier, nobody else. And it's just brilliant. So for me, has to get a 9 for me for all of those reasons.
Oh, good call, Pete, and good explanation for the logic behind it as well. We shall move on to Shar. For me, Shar was my man of the match. Loved the way he played, getting the tackles in, getting stuck in, the passing as well. His range of passing was good last night as well. We've mentioned the tangle with and the shaking of Gordon, which you got a card for. He was just solid. And he was also made a run or two into the box as well to try and create. So he's getting a 9.25 from me. Is Fabian Schär. Have that, Richie.
I don't know. Is he laughing at your rate, or is it just the fact that you've got the 2.5 there, or what?
No. He's just actually just expecting this from you now. Across the board, he's expecting some of this. Go on. Off you go, Richie.
I've got to say, I'll give him a 9. I thought he was an absolute beast last night. Do you know what I've noticed most of the last couple of games? I don't know whether you the lads that have realised. We knew, well, me and Pete knew that Shaw was a good player. Daz didn't until this season. He got
bruised. Is that
the excuse now? We stood up for him by saying that he was bruised. We knew that. We were going, nah, I want him out.
I did for a while, and I would stand by that. I'd say the same thing again at that point in time. But no, before
are you going to stand by as much as your tattoo comment?
No, I didn't. I didn't make that bet. That was Martin.
Yeah, you did. Anyway, Shaw, I just thought, look, the thing I've noticed, especially with the last couple of games, right? He went down with the cramp at the end of the Man United game. And then there was the incident last night where he looked like he tweaked his hamstring when he was stretching for that ball that came in from the, I think it was from the left-hand side. He tried to keep it in the Gallagher corner. There's been times before with Shaw where mentally he hasn't been there and just thought that's it, I'm going to go off. Whereas now his mentality's gone into a different gear. He does not want to leave the pitch. He wants to be on there every single second he can, no matter what, whether he's carrying a little knock or whatever. He just loves being a part of this new unit at the back of him and Bot, because I think he knows that Dan Burns play a great level as well. And it's the sort of like fighting for their place as well, that if they go off, they might give Eddie Howe a reason to leave him out, you know what I mean, by his commitment level. But he's been rock solid at the back. He's been that player I always knew he was. You saw glimpses of it under Rafa Benitez, but he's took his consistency once again. I think this is a big word that you'll see this season from all of us when we start talking about the players. It's that consistency. The delivering this performance level every single week, and he's just been a breath of fresh air that you see that he's just doing it all the time. And it's really pleased me because I've always been a fan of him since he came to the club. I remember watching him in the World Cup the summer we bought him, and thinking we got, to be fair, we bought him for 3 million, lads. Do you know what I mean? That's you look back, that's a hell of a bit of business now when you see what he's doing now for us. There's other people down that, a few years ago were, just let him see his contract and it'll go. It was really, really important that we tied him down to a new deal for this season going forward as well, because that partnership between him and Botman, someone mentioned it in the chat. Now, I might as well bring it up now because obviously we're talking Shaw and Botman. And John Askew says, if Botman and Shaw stay fit, will we concede again this season? Now, obviously, we are going to concede at some point. Do you know what I mean?
On Sunday.
It is obvious. Don't get me wrong. I think we'd all love it if we kept, we didn't concede the goal all season. It would be a miracle, but do you know what I mean? But it's the fact that we are now got the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season with 5. We've only conceded 9, which is a record as well. It shows how good him and Bob are as a partnership at that back. And he was immense last night. Absolutely immense.
Nice one. Now he's laughing at you, Richie. Pete. Sure.
Fabian Shaw, outstanding again. Back-to-back top level performances. Well in with the shout and well in the rights of being man of the match. For me, 9.4. I'll say 9.4. What was really interesting, obviously, he's a battler. He grafts. He's excellent on the ball. What was really interesting, I noticed about 5-10 minutes into the second half, because the first half, Dominic Calvert-Lewin pulled himself on Botman constantly, and then very quickly in the second half shifted himself to Shaw. It was as if Lampard had said, "Put yourself on Shaw, you'll have more joy there." He had even less joy than he did against Botman. He had him in his absolute pocket. It was brilliant. And Shaw just knows how to play the game. And look, Fabian Shaw is a player that just needed to be coached. He needed to be under a manager that trusted him and that believed in his abilities. Someone like Steve Bruce hasn't got the capabilities of being able to manage someone like Fabian Shaw and the ability that he has. I also think some may not agree with me. I also think that if Florian Lejeune was in this squad, he'd be performing at this level too, because he is that good. Florian Lejeune and Shaw together were brilliant under Rafa Benitez, and I think Eddie Howe would have been able to get the best out of Florian Lejeune. But he's getting the best out of Fabian Shaw, performing at a very, very high level. And truly, truly deserves every praise that he gets, because he's putting his body on the line for Newcastle. What I love about him as well is that his tactical play late on in the game, when we need to slow down the play, winning free kicks, slowing down the play. I think he took a knock and then jogged 50 yards down the pitch, then went down and asked for treatment, just slowed the game down constantly, got the player on, slowed it right down. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So intelligent, Fabian Shaw. And he played well on the ball today. Could have had a goal, half decent save from Pickford. Very, very good. Impressive performance. 9.4.
So I've got a question for both of you. I give Shar man of the match and a 9.25. Is Shar your man of the match?
No.
You have to find out.
No. Okay, we'll keep playing on. All right, we'll go to Byrne next. Dan Byrne. I have not criticised, but I've kind of urged a bit of caution with Dan Byrne and the pace element of him playing the left back the last couple of weeks. But it was his best game at left back for me, and he coped well with Gordon. Really, he kept him quiet. There's some bit of trickery from Gordon, but he was solid. So I'm giving Byrne an 8.5. Pete.
Yeah, I would agree. In fact, you know what? I'm going to give Dan Byrne an 8.7. I'm going straight up Daz tonight. I'm not sticking to these halves and full numbers. 8.7. You know what? All the talk about, can Dan Byrne manage pace? Can he deal with it? Is he going to be exposed? He's already proven against a fantastic Anthony at Old Trafford that he can handle it. Yes, he got beaten a couple of times, but you know what? He recovered. He got back. He made sure that there wasn't an incident or anything that went against him. Last night, he came up against Anthony Gordon that, if you've watched him play, can absolutely destroy defenders for pace down that side. And actually, Anthony Gordon didn't want anything. He didn't want none of Dan Byrne. Dan Byrne absolutely managed him out of the game. He was anonymous for me. And he had to resort to diving tactics in order to try and win anything from him. You know what? Yeah, Jordan Toon for life. Yeah, you know what? I've never been against Dan Byrne. I've just always thought that Botman should start ahead of him. But you know what? He's made that left back position his own. And I said to you guys a while ago, I wasn't impressed with Matty Targett. I don't think he'd started the season well, and I hadn't been impressed with him. But I tell you what, Dan Byrne's putting the performances in for me at left back that Matty Targett should be putting in. And Matty Targett is on the bench, and rightly so at this moment in time, because I wouldn't drop Dan Byrne for anything. If he's fit and conditional-wise 100%, he starts for me in that position, because he just adds something very, very different in this tactical setup, and he's playing very, very well. Really, really impressed with him. I have been. You're not going to get the elegance on the ball, the overlapping, the left-sided, whether it's Murphy or Alan St-Maxwell, you're not going to get that from him. But what he does tactically, he creates defensive solidity, and he creates that solidness that when the ball goes over Botman for whatever reason, Byrne's there to clear. If there is a ball that goes over Dan Byrne, Botman's there to clear. They've got a clear understanding and a way of playing. He ruffles feathers. He didn't give Anthony Gordon any time on the ball. He was shitting at Anthony Gordon. He didn't want any of it last night, and you could tell from the stadium. You could tell watching it again from the TV. Brilliant performance. Really, really impressed with him.
What I'd like to see him, just from your description, I'd like to see him add to his game a bit more. He's getting more headers on target for such a big lad as well, because there's goals in him as well when he's on the pitch from corners and stuff like that. But sorry, Richie, over to you. You're on mute, by the
way. I think if you look at Dan Byrne, I think it's what Pete said. It's a bit like what Joy 2 for Life was as well. About, we all know Byrne was a good defender, but we all like Botman more. And I think that was, you look at the partnership that Shaw and Byrne started to develop at the end of last season, and it was, they had a pretty good relationship. And I think the fact that he's now excelling at left back, it's sort of like, I suppose from my point of view, you're happy because Byrne's getting the game. He's a joy laddie. Every single time he puts that shirt, he's going to deliver every single time he puts that shirt on. But you've also got the Rolls Royce next to him as well, who obviously we will touch on in a minute. But that it just seems to, I don't know, gives me more confidence defensively. I think the one thing that Targett gives you potentially going forward is he has that potential to whip the ball a little bit better on the left-hand side, whereas Byrne doesn't. But he still likes to carry the ball forward, and it likes to advance you when we were attacking with him. But as Pete said, you look at the way he was last night. Anthony was going to test him. And I know this was one of the things that you said, Daz, wasn't it, before the Man United game, was you were concerned about the pace against Dan Byrne. I think the thing is that Dan Byrne hasn't got the natural pace, but because he's so tall, he's got such a long stride, so it helps get him out of the situation that anyone a bit smaller who didn't have the pace would really struggle. And obviously, with him being so tall, he's strong as well. So he can use his body in other ways to help, manipulate the attackers off the ball and stuff like that. I agree with what you say, Daz, about be a bit more of a threat in the box, and he's trying to get the headers on the target. Bear in mind, you've got to look now. This is probably the tallest team we've ever had. I think you go through the team full stop, and apart that back three, the back four are tall. Then you've got Longstaff and you've got Julian. Then you've still got then you've got Wilson, who's good in the air as well. So you've got about 6 players on that pitch who are good in the air, but we don't seem to score many headed goals. I know Bruno got one the other week, but you wouldn't really say that. Even Bruno will tell you that's his first headed goal of all time. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's something that we could potentially work on with the defenders, that ability to use that height and dominate the opposition box. We do well defensively with it, but when we're in the attacking box, the attacking 80-yard box, we don't seem to use it as much. But solid enough display. I'll give him a solid 8.
That's Richie. Dan Byrne, someone we all look up to. Right, I forgot to mention Botman. I passed by the way Botman. So Botman for me, he was solid. I thought he was. I was more impressed with him in the Man United game, to tell you the truth. But it was just Shar that really shone for me yesterday. So I'm giving Botman an 8.
Okay. Any reasons for it?
No, just give him an 8. He was. No major reasons really. He got
is that Daz giving Botman an 8? Nah.
Yeah,
really?
no, just an 8. Yeah.
That's what I asked. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what.
I come to expect it. I know. Say the truth, I was just kind of comparing his performance to the Man United game. In the Man United game, he was pinging passes left, right, and centre, and I thought Shar did that yesterday. So that's why for me, I put Botman ahead of Shar in the last game. Now I'm putting Shar ahead of Botman. So that for my ratings, they're competing against each other. They're not just competing against other teams. They're competing against my rate for my attention. So that's why it is 12.5. So if I give him 12.5.
Yeah.
Is that the same PDK that wanted Dan Ashworth out for the end of the transfer window? I think it is.
I've given Botman a 9.2. And the reason why he's not rated ahead of Shaw is for the exact reasons that Dan said, is that on the ball, I didn't think Botman had his best game. He gave the ball away a couple of times. He wasn't as useful with the ball. He didn't break the lines as much as what I normally see from him when I watch him play. But what we saw from Botman, and the reason why he's in the 9s, is that we saw the other side of Botman last night. We saw the graft, the battle, the fight in him. And that's what he needed, because Everton came not to play football. They came to fight. They came to make it difficult for our team. And if it was a Lascelles, if it was a Kieran Clark or something, Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have got all the joy in the world last night. And Botman is so experienced for a young lad. He didn't rise to the occasion. He was ready to go toe to toe with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He didn't win all the duels, but what he did, he made sure he won the second or the third. He made sure that he was not getting any wins or anything at all. And I talked about how in the second half, Dominic Calvert-Lewin started to pull on Fabian Shaw. It's because he wasn't getting any joy. Even with the little flick-ons or the little chest downs that he was getting, they were coming to nothing. Botman was reading it all. And when there was anything 50-50, Botman was there, bang, winning it, letting him know he was there, getting into him, really kind of leaving his mark on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And he just made the game look so easy. And I was really, really impressed with him from that perspective. I was glad to see that other side of him. So yeah, no, I think that's 9.2. I give him.
Yeah, you did. 9.2. Richie Botman.
I'll give him a 9, the same as Shaw. I think it's like would I? She said Botman has to be the same as Shaw. They're a double act. And obviously, I gave 9 to Shaw. I've got to give Botman a 9. It's so nice seeing not having to worry about the centre defenders for changing. We've been used to having Lascelles there, and what mistakes coming next. It's just so reassuring that you've got 2 world-class centre-halves played for our club now. And yeah, perhaps if I was going to go into the 0.2s or 0.4s, perhaps Shaw did edge it last night because I thought he was better with the ball. But as Pete said, yes, last night's the first time that Botman hasn't won all his aerial duels, which was going to happen at some point. It was never going to go all the way through the season without not losing one. But it was the fact that he wasn't going to lose the second one. Yes, he wasn't able to do his route hullet passing that he's been renowned for so far, where he can pick a ball across and stuff. He did what he needed to do. He did it well still, and that's all you can ask. If he does that every single week, then so be it. You know what I mean? It's like as I said, we're going to say this quite a lot now. It's going to be consistency. He didn't have the better game yesterday. Shaw did, but when Shaw doesn't have the better game, Botman does. One of them, as they said, it's a partnership. The pull each other on sort of thing. It's like it's really, really good to see that leadership. It's not just from Trippier now; it's all the way along that back line. So yeah, I don't think he was played quite as good as Shaw. Yeah, and if I was going to do the points, yes, I'd probably give Shaw a little bit more, but it would be a 9 for me for Botman as well because he was rock solid again.
No, that's fair enough, Richie. And you mentioned Ruud Gullit, so you have to say sexy football every time you say
sexy football.
Right, let's move on to the midfield. Let's go to Bruno. For me, his passing was unbelievable as usual. The way he plays, it's like he's playing snooker or golf. So the pinpoint accuracy of his passing. He passed on to Miggy actually just got the assist for the goal, but and a couple of minutes after that, the movement, the little back heel and stuff. As always, he got lots of the ball. For me, I'm giving Bruno a 9.
No hearts or points or whatever.
I mix it up, Richie. I don't go decimal the whole time.
I'll give Bruno a 9 as well. I thought he was the standout midfielder for Newcastle last night. Once again, it's he likes to carry the ball out from the back. He's there straight away if we've lost the ball on the press. He's leading the counter press as well. He just does everything. And yes, I think the one thing that spoiled his performance last night, he wasn't able to take one of those 2 chances after we just took the lead. I think the better one was his first one, and I don't know if obviously Pete might have seen it differently from in the ground, but I remember looking at I'm just screaming, why is Joe Linton not giving him a shout? Because Joe Linton had acres of space literally behind him, no one around him, and actually would have probably been able to get score an easier second from where it was. But I think that was the only thing missing from Bruno's game last night. Leadership was still there, the drive was still there. He led from the front, he was there at the back to win the ball as well. He still win the ball high up in the pitch and turned the ball over in the final third as well. That was something that Everton couldn't deal with, yes, because if you look at Cody and Tarkovsky, yes, they're good, solid, all defenders, but they're not ones who are good on the ball. So you really need to help getting around it. And obviously, he helped that press with Wilson as well when those 2 were there. So a 9 for me.
Fair enough. Pete?
Bruno, I put at a 9.5, and the reason being, the reason why I put him ahead of Fabian Shaw is because everything went through Bruno Guimaraes. Everything went through him. He is the focal point of the team. You've got the leadership in Trippier, you've got the fight and the spirit of Shaw and Botman. And then you've got the experience of the likes of Calum Wilson up top. But what you have in the middle of that is Bruno Guimaraes, and he makes everything tick. He makes everything come together, left or right, everything comes through him. He was involved in everything that was good from Newcastle United last night, and he's so important to this team. He's not blessed with pace. He's not the paciest player. He's not someone that's rapid, that can run 100 meters in 10, 12, 15 seconds. He's not that, but what he is, he's controlled and calm on the ball. No one can get the ball off him. No one can get the ball off him in the tightest of spaces. He seems to always come out with the ball, and he's just so special for that reason. And you've got players like Onana. Onana is a terrific centre midfielder. I thought he had a really good game at times last night. And you know what? Ideally, in our midfield three, is that little sitter. He would be ideal for us in there. But he made him look average at times, the way he just ghosted past him. And only a top-level player in Bruno Guimaraes could do that to a player like Onana that's actually not looked out of place in the Premier League against many other teams, apart from last night. And I just think he's just brilliant. So for me, 9.5 for that reason, the focal point of our team.
And is your man in the match, Pete?
We'll see.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff, love the way he got the blocks in when needed. He played a key role, and it's worked over the last number of games since he's been in there. Also, not linked to the game, but see the little interview with himself and Botman. They have a good relationship going as well there. But I'm gonna give Longstaff an 8.
Go on, Pete.
Longstaff. I'll give an 8. It was weird to see. I don't know if you guys noticed it, that at the beginning of the game he was playing as the number 8. He started the game playing further forward than Bruno Guimaraes, and it seemed strange to me because he didn't start very well in that position. But he grew into the game. I loved his battle inside. Got stuck in, won the ball back. There was times where he wasn't great on the ball, and it was frustrating at times. But he made up for that with his battling performance. He really does get around the pitch. He looks as fit as I've ever seen him. He really does put himself around the pitch.
I think he's played every game, even the cup game.
He's looking really, really strong at the moment, and those regular games are definitely helping him. So fair play to him. I'd give him an 8 for that. Well played.
Nice one. Richie?
Yeah, I was a bit split on this because it's hard. Half time, I thought that Longstaff and Joel Linton didn't have particularly good first halves, but I would say that the problem I had with Longstaff was he wasn't, as Pete just mentioned, he wasn't great with the ball last night when he had it. But then you look at the second half when obviously Everton had a bit more possession. His defensive side was top notch last night. His work off the ball, as Peter mentioned. He covers a lot of the pretty much a lot of the pitch, chasing the ball from the right flank to the left side of the pitch. It was. Yeah, I think given it, if it got off at half time, I wouldn't have been surprised though, because I thought he had a really poor first half. He just, as I said, it just didn't seem to look after the ball when we had it as well as he can't do. And I don't know, it could be what Pete mentioned. He started off further up the pitch in that number 8 role, and perhaps it's just a role that doesn't really suit him. He either likes to be forward in the number 10, which is he obviously played more when he was younger, or he prefers to sit and be the number 6. He just doesn't like the number 8 role, and that's what he just. To be fair, you had Onana in there, and then you had obviously Gay as well in there as well. Two really good midfielders on the day. I think I was impressed with Onana last night. Box to box, he's strong. Perhaps it was just something that unsettled him in that middle. I don't know, but yeah, I'll give him an 8.
An 8, fair enough. We'll move on to J7, and as Richie alludes, I think myself and yourself were having a debate on the WhatsApp chat as well, Richie. I thought Jointon did okay in the first half, to say the truth. He had the desire to win the ball. He's breaking down play. He was a beast at times. And then he got injured. So I had him down as an 8, but because he didn't play the full match after 45 minutes, I'm going to knock him back down to 7.75.
I'll touch on it because I thought it was a 7. I don't know. He just seemed half a yard off it last night a little bit for me. And I know he set his standards really high since something we're still going to remember. He's not a natural midfielder. we've still got to remember that. He's a converted midfielder, and obviously he had a lot to do on Sunday at Man United. There's a lot of quality players you've got to switch on constantly, and I don't know if it perhaps obviously whether he had that knee strapping on before he started the game. So for all I know, that half year because he could have been struggling with that knee, but obviously I think with that, if you look at that tackle, the yellow card, it was that half a yard, that half a second, a little bit slow, which you don't really see from Joe Linton now as a midfielder, especially when Bruno's there with him. And I just think that was the little thing for me. Just seemed to be wasn't his game. That for me last night. He could have come out the second half and did what Longstaff did, and have a better second half. But I wasn't surprised when he went off and obviously had the knock. Perhaps it's just something they want to protect him for Sunday because obviously you look at the midfield three of Spurs when you've got Højbjerg, Bentancur, and whoever the player is the third one. It's quite a strong midfield. It's going to be a physical game on Sunday, so that's where you really want Joe Linton fit for. You want to be there for that battle on Sunday.
Cool. Pete, J7.
Yeah, 6.5 for me.
6.5.
Yeah, I thought he was really poor. I was really disappointed with his performance. And look, Jonathan Casely, it says it is loved Joe Linton, but was lucky to stay on yesterday. I was actually very, very relieved when he was subbed at half time, and Willock was by far better than him in the second half. And it was a very deserving substitution. I thought it was dreadful from the beginning, constantly giving the ball away, out of position all the time. He was driving me mad in that first 30 minutes. He was then part of the attacking unit, and he had a couple of plays where he was okay, but he was a liability to that midfield. And any joy that they got in the first half was down to him not being in the right position. I was really disappointed with Joe Linton. Very, very disappointed. And I'll be honest with you, he's dropped off form recently. He really has. He's not been the same player. He's been better in other games compared to that, but he was Newcastle's worst player last night, and he really does need to step it up big time if he wants to get his place back in the team. I think Yano's put there. Shelby's back in the running. You got Longstaff that's playing well. Bruno being Bruno. Willock, who's impressing me massively at the moment. The only thing that's missing for me is the goals. And I think, and this is the conversation that was had a while ago, is that what would Joe Linton maintain the levels to stay in the first team, to stay here? Could you see him a year or 2 years down the line still being a regular in the Newcastle squad? If he puts performances in like that, we will sign another midfielder that will put him out the team. He's guaranteed. He's got to maintain those levels. He was really poor. And you know what? To add to that, and people might not like this, but he should have been sent off. He was already on
he got early in the first half. Yeah, he got that yellow card.
But fully deserved. And then there was a challenge later on Idrissa Gueye where he just cleaned him out. No intention to getting the ball, or was nowhere near the ball. And he's kind of ran straight into him. And even the commentator watching it back was like, what is he doing? He's lucky to be on the pitch. And I don't think there's any knock. I don't think there was any injury. I think that's the reason why Howe took him off. One, because he was having a poor performance, and two, he should have been off the field. And I think they've taken basically what Howe's done at half time is taking the decision away from the referee. Because I think any incident in the second half with involving Joe Linton would have resulted in a red card. And I just think it was poor. Now, what Joe Linton does have the opportunity to, and I think he'll play Sunday, is the opportunity to put it right against Tottenham and really bully that midfield. That midfield that is very defensive-minded for Tottenham, that's not attack-minded with some of the players that they've got missing. So he's got an opportunity to put it right, because I think he'll play.
I'll tell you what, Pete, I don't know whether you agree with this, but it's funny how with Bruno and Joe Linton, that when they tend to pick up a first half booking, it really seems to unsettle them. It's because they can't play the natural game for the rest of it. And I think that was what, with him picking up that early booking, it's sort of like, as I said, that's why it seemed to me he was half a yard off it all the time because he couldn't play his natural game to a degree.
Richie, he was off. He was off it even before the yellow card.
Oh no, I said that's now a chat. Yeah. I said I would not have been surprised, but obviously, he had the knock. I thought we needed to bring Shelvey on because he would be able to help control the pace of the middle of the park better with Longstaff and Bruno in the middle. Just so he can sit a little bit deeper and control it because he does control the game well. But obviously, I know that Eddie's still trying to protect him a bit because obviously he's had that bad hamstring injury. And Willett came on and did a fantastic job. It was a really good performance. The second half, Willett came on.
No, I didn't see him as bad as that, to tell you the truth, and that's why I give my rating. But I do see the logic now, and what a different game it would have been in result if we came out the second half and he gets sent off. Everton definitely be back in. It would have been a draw at best for us then, I think. But yeah, no, interesting. Again, good logic behind that, Pete. Let's move on to Murphy. Murphy, for me, he had that shot early on in the game where the ball went over the bar. He was doing a bit of covering and kind of tracking back with Byrne as well. He was kind of helping Byrne out on Gordon. For me, I'm giving Murphy 7.5. Richie.
Yeah.
I'll go through these comments. You just go, Pete. I'll go through these comments.
I agree. 7.5 didn't kind of set the world alight. Had a little moment in the first half where he got the ball on the left, cut inside, and he whipped the ball just over the bar. Really, really good effort. And I thought that was going to set the tone for what his performance was going to be. And then we just didn't see it after that. He kept getting that ball. It wasn't that he wasn't getting the ball. He kept getting that ball wide out left. But his decision making at times is dreadful. He just kept making the wrong decision and just running into players. He just needs to keep it simple. There was one time he got the ball out on the left, and all he needed to do is left foot, whip it into the box. Wilson was there running, and he ended up, I don't even know what he did. I think he took it inside and ended up losing the ball or playing the wrong pass. And Wilson goes mad at him and he's shouting at him. He's going, "Give me the ball. Just put it into the box." That's what Wilson's all about. And it was a bit of a frustrating performance, but the link up, the way he connected, obviously being involved in the goal as well, that little header back, it's 7.5. It's areas of his game that he needs to improve on, but some of the little connected plays that he played was nice and kept the ball up the pitch at times.
Yeah, I agree with you on the decision making. It was the same in the Fulham game. I think did Miggy score 2 in that game, and I even said Murphy could have got man of the match because he all the ball he had, and if his decisions were better, he would have got a hatful of goals. But yeah, if he could improve that in his game, he's worth having around. But can he do that? That's the question. Can you train that into someone? Right, Richie, your thoughts on Murphy?
I'll go for a 7. He was okay. That's pretty much it. Pete's around it, said it already. Yeah, he had that one chance where he cut in and had a decent effort, but it is right. His decision making is really poor when he gets to that final third. That ball should have been whipped in, and I still think that's one of the things that the issue with playing a right-sided player on the left, or when you played, like obviously with Miggy, you start now to see an end product from it. We were always frustrated that when he got the byline, he never tried to put it with his right foot. He always had to cut back onto his left, or that product wasn't there. But obviously now we're getting that end product with that quality of the finishes there. Whereas with Murphy, I remember the amount of times that Pete used to say he's that sort of winger where, a bit like what Keith Gillespie used to do, he's not fantastically skillful, but he's the one where if he needs to knock it past the defender, he's got the pace to get past him and just put a ball in. Because he's not naturally left-footed, he can't do that. So that ball that Wilson was screaming for, that cried out for that left foot ball back in. I think what he took an extra touch and then tried to play it back to the edge of the box and it went out for a corner. But he's still my weakness on that pitch. I would still much rather have Ryan Fraser on than Murphy. As I said, Ryan Fraser, he's 2-footed. He can, he does well with the press. He come on last night. He was in the wars, bless him, last night. He was getting knocked from pillar to post for that 10 minutes he was on. But do you know what? You know what you get from it. I think Fraser's just that little bit better quality wise than what Murphy is, in my opinion. And I would be playing Fraser over Murphy. I just think he's our weak spot.
So why do you think he's going with Murphy then? Why do
I
you
don't
think he's doing Murphy instead of Fraser? What's the key? There's only one thing I can think of.
I can't think of anything, Pete, if I'm honest. I really can't.
Pace is the only thing.
I think Fraser's quite nippy over short distances, so he does well with the press, and he's quite. I think he's actually quicker in the press than what Murphy is, but
it's that direct pace though, running at players. I think Murphy is a lot faster than Fraser. But Fraser's not slow, and you're right, and he does press well. But I just think having a taller player and a player that's fast and is fast with the ball and will be very direct. He'll just get the ball and he'll just run. Even if it's in a straight line, he'll just run and he'll commit defenders moving forward. He did it a couple of times in the first half where he just ran and ran and ran. And I think he went to then cross it in, not with the intention of actually crossing it in, but hitting it off the player to win as a corner or win as a throw in, high up the pitch. And he just does that. And he'll just do that job over and over and over again. And I think that's one of the things at the moment that's keeping him in the team. Purely, he's just his outright pace. But I do think that I think you're right. I think Fraser is better tactically. I think he offers a little bit more quality in terms of final ball. And it wouldn't surprise me if he starts on Sunday.
And he gets a few free kicks as well, Fraser.
Love him.
Yeah. Right. Let's actually, before we move on, just a reminder as well. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't hit the like button, make sure you definitely hit it on your way out, and you can hit it now if you like. So let's move on to Miggy Almiron. For me, I'm giving Miggy a 9. Look at the goal. Was class. Probably not as good as he's been in other games either, and he got taken off the 72nd minute for Fraser to come on to give him a run, but he's getting a 9 for me.
Yeah, joint man of the match for me, 9.5, Miggy. Purely because of his constant running back and forth. He covers so much ground, which we know he does. But that finish, please do not underrate that finish. That finish is outstanding for a couple of reasons. For one, just the technique in how he does it. But two, hitting that first time, not easy. Not easy at the position that he's at to hit that first time and beat the keeper the way he does. And it's the reason why he beats Pickford the way he does is because he hits it first time. Pickford's not expecting a first time shot, which is why his positioning was all over the place. He's expecting Miggy to take a touch because he normally does, and then that allows Pickford to set himself in order to be able to defend and save that ball in a better position. Miggy doesn't give him the opportunity, hits it first time, the whip in the bend. That's what he used to do for Atlanta United all the time. That type of finish, one touch, bang, curl it into the far corner. He's now doing that for Newcastle United. That finish was fantastic. And it was the match winner. And for me, deserves for me to be in a position where he is equal man of the match.
Nice that you mentioned Atlanta, and Carl was in it. Will comment come up on screen there as well. The Atlanta fan. Richie, did you speak about Miggy yet?
No, I didn't. I went like that because I was agreeing with your 9, Dan. Yeah. He was actually my man of the match. I've got to reiterate every single thing that Pete said there. His work rate with the ball, without the ball, he's just second to none. Eddie said it several times now. What he does off the ball when we're defended from the front is absolutely, his work rate is just absolute. The dog's bollocks. Basically, that's the easiest way to put it up. And it's nice to see that, as I mentioned before, that end product now that's coming through. He's always threatened to have it, but it's like, I don't know. I think I've seen it on Twitter a couple of times this week. How much we've actually got to thank Jack Grealish for, because he's created a monster. He really has. We saw that pre-season, 6 goals in pre-season. We thought, oh well, look, it's just pre-season. He's gonna they've got to take it into the season as well. But he's scored 5 goals in 11 games. The last, it took it was 63 games to score 5 goals before that. He's just on an absolute run at the minute. He's absolute on fire. But as Pete said, that finish last night, it's still not as good as he's won against Fulham, because that's just out of the box technique for that goal. You look at over the shoulder. It's De Canio-esque or Van Basten-esque, if you want to say that, because it's one of those goals where you're probably going to score that goal once in your life. You'll try that opening time again and never be able to do it. Whereas this one, he'll probably try it more. There's a chance he'll actually score it again in the future, but because he took it first time, that's why it was such a good finish, as Pete said. If he took a touch and killed the ball dead, it would have been harder to get that flight and dip over Pickford. And obviously Pickford, as Pete also mentioned, Pickford could have been set better and expect the shot. I don't think he was potentially expecting the first time shot. And that all comes about his confidence. He's played out of his skin at the minute. And as I mentioned earlier on the show, 4 goals in 4 games in October, that's player of the month caliber, that all day long.
Yeah, and I remember the day, just as you're describing there, Richie, I remember the days like he'd get it at our box and try and run, make his way up and mazy run passing and everything, and then just run, and then he'd get to our box and he'd be just out of energy. He'd have a weak shot, but his shots now are unreal because he's playing further up the pitch as well, of course. But yeah, no, agree with everything said there, Miggy. All good. Let us move on to the last man we'll talk about tonight, Calum Wilson. So for me, Calum Wilson, as I mentioned in our description of the match, unselfish and definitely on 2 occasions, laying the ball off for someone else to have a shot. He's just dying to score another goal. All these goals flying in each the last couple of weeks, he wants to get one. There was his bicycle attempt as well in the game. So a solid performance for me from Wilson. I'm giving him an 8. Richie,
go on. You go for it.
You sure? No, I've actually got to agree with Daz. I think I would give him an 8 as well.
I thought you were going to say you're going to agree with Pete.
Never said out. No, I'll give it an 8 as well. I think he led the line really well. You've got, as I said, he was up against Cody and Tarkowski, 2 good centre halves who they know every little trick in the book. Every little dirty little tactic, just to whatever. But he didn't get much of a stiff. He got that header in the first half, but it obviously was really far out, so it wasn't really going to trouble Pickford, unfortunately. But his work rate's still there, and it was what he was doing off the ball that was good last night. I'm still impressed that. And obviously, I'm also scared at the same time. I'll say this because I know what his hamstrings are like. But when he's doing that press, I'm just going to be scared that his hamstring's going to ping again, because that's just how fragile he is. But I love the fact that he's still putting his body on the line, even though his hamstring could ping at any second. Obviously, I don't want him to, because obviously that leaves us only with Chris Wood at the minute. So if he wants to let it ping and get in the 92nd minute against Chelsea. Literally before we've got to go to the World Cup break, and that'll do me. But yeah, solid enough display, led the line really, really well. Brought other players into the game as well and stuff like that. So yeah, a solid 8 for me.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Pete.
Yeah, he gets the 8 for me for the reasons. Not because obviously of his ability in front of goal, but it's just his battling and his linking play. His ability to occupy the 2 centre backs is underrated. You would expect a Chris Wood, a big physical guy that can kind of bounce defenders around. You'd expect that guy to be the one to kind of take those 2 centre backs and really kind of pull them around the pitch. But Wilson is just as physical, and his movement's so good, and he comes short and he goes long, and they don't know what to do, whether to go with him or stay or whatever. He just pulls them all over the place. I feel so sorry for him, but for two reasons. One, I feel sorry for him because he's playing within himself. It literally is what Richie said. Like he's our only striker, and I don't mean any disrespect to Wood in that respect, but Wood's just not in the same league as Calum Wilson, and Calum Wilson is playing within himself. You can tell that once he gets to 60, 70 minutes, he stops the running, he stops the work rate, he stops the press. It affects the team, but he's doing it because he's probably being told to play within himself because they want him just to stay fit. And they want him as a presence on the pitch, but he also just wants to be a presence and stay on the pitch because he knows there might be a chance for a tap in or a chance on goal that he can continue to build his goal scoring record. So he's playing within himself, and that's not what we want Calum Wilson to be. We want him to be all action, playing at 100 miles an hour, playing at 100%, because that's where you get the best Calum Wilson, the Calum Wilson that we saw at home to Arsenal last season. At St James's, and it's frustrating from that point of view. The other point of view is that sometimes the delivery or the service to him is just not good enough. He needs a certain type of service in order to score goals, and he's just not getting it. That's why he got so frustrated with Murphy. That type of ball that Murphy should have played to him in the box and it didn't come is the type of one that he gets on the end of.
You know what, Pete? It's the perfect example of that. I was just saying, is the Forest second goal.
Exactly, yeah.
Joe Linton puts the ball in. He runs across the defender and fixes up. He likes a first-time delivery in the box, and the fact that we play with two wingers who are wrong-footed for the side of the rod, you're not going to get that quick first-time ball in. Where that he likes to be on the shoulder of the defender to get in front of them. So that's it. He's done it upbeat times. You look at West Ham last season. In the 5th minute, Maxi down the right-hand side for change. That ball in where he gets the header at the front post. He does it. He's done it constantly. He did it against Spurs last season as well. When obviously the first game. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's fantastic with that, but we don't play to that strength. And he's good in the air as well. And he's got that. I still don't understand, especially Fraser's played with Wilson for years and knows what Wilson likes, but for some reason we don't play to that strength. And I think that's why I would play Fraser over Murphy, because they've got that relationship with the fact that Fraser's two-footed. He can put a ball in from the left that he's used to, that he can attack. And I know that's sorry, Peter, I interrupted you there, but I'll just
I agree. It's not, we don't play to his strengths. At least at Bournemouth, they have an understanding. Fraser knows what Wilson wants, and it also he knows he can make a certain run and knows the type of ball that he's going to get from Fraser. He doesn't know what he's going to get from Miggy or Murphy or even Alan St-Maximin. He doesn't know. I think he just started to build up that relationship with Maxi towards the end of last season, but obviously he's not fit and he's not been playing. And I do feel sorry for Wilson for that reason, because it might look like that he's not in the game and he's not doing anything. He is. He's making all the right runs, all the right movements. He's just not getting the ball, and it would be frustrating. If I was him as a striker, I would be really, really frustrated. I'd be happy that I'm doing a job for the team. He's occupying two centre backs. He's been big, physical. He's been hard to manage. But what comes with that is the injury. And you mentioned that you're worried about him making those sprints and those presses and him putting up with his hamstrings. Actually, I worry about him getting injured from that physical game, because that's all he's been able to do at the moment. He's being big and physical, holding up the ball. He's getting ragged around all over the pitch because he's trying to play that physical hold-up play. For me, I just think he needs to be given more service in the box so he can make those runs in and behind. And I think that's where he's at his most potent and he's most dangerous. And so, I just feel sorry for Wilson in that respect. But I do think he had a good game. He did such a good role for the team in a different way. So that's why, I would give him an 8. But, I think, seeing the way he played, I actually think he'll probably play on Sunday. I think he'll play on Sunday. I think they'll continue to do another 60, 70 minutes at Tottenham to see if he can nick a goal here or there. Because let's face it, Tottenham's defence are not good at the moment, and he's the type of striker that you can do to expose. They'll do the 60, 70 minutes, see how he gets on, how are we getting on in the game. Can we stretch it to 75, maybe even 80? Give Wood the last 15 or 10 minutes and just rest him and recuperate him and build from that. And I think that's what they're going to do now until after the World Cup. That's just how I see it, which is a shame. But if it helps the team, then so be it.
Yeah, we have to do something just to manage the situation when we're in with regards to our strikers. Okay, that's it for our ratings. We just want to say, click the button. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button as well, as my internet is dying here. So just now I see it popping up. Great. So that is that. I want to give a shout out to our other sponsors. We've already put Richie in jail and mentioned the radiatorshed.com. So check out that. Those suits you, Richie. Right, then we'll give a shout out to, and I'll remove the banner here, to shybarns.com, and it doesn't appear on my screen. Now it is. And the range that Simon has available there: hats, t-shirts, hoodies. Also, you'll see the loaded range that's available there as well. I can't see it, but you should see it on the screen now. And also the away days version of the t-shirt, and that also comes in a variety of different colors. I know I might stick up the yellow version here, Pete's favorite color version, the Brazilian one. But also keep an eye out on shybarns.com, because there's going to be some new loaded goodies going on that pretty soon, in talks with Simon at the moment. But yeah, also shout out to Pins and Prints, and the range that Pins and Prints have available there. You can see them there, and go check out the sites for the latest. Also shout out to Machine House and Marty at Machine House, and the range of t-shirts and hoodies that are available from the guys at Machine House. And we must get Marty on at some stage as well, and to talk to us about the company and tell us a bit more, because we've been talking about these t-shirts and hoodies for ages. It'd be good to meet him as well. Also shout out to Dean at the Jolly Rise as well, and check out, there's a nice white and black t-shirts on Dean's site, so check that out when you get a chance as well. And Dean is another one we'll have to get on at the show at some time. But yeah, that is it for the sponsors. Let us tell you what, and if you're still with us and you haven't hit that like button, make sure you hit it. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. What is coming the rest of this week and into next week? So, Pete, tell us first about what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, well, away days is back. We knew it was going to be a busy week in terms of matches and preparations for away days. So away days is back. We've got new Spurs order that joined us last season. They'll be coming on. I think they're just confirming who it is that could well be joining. But look, if none of them join and not able to make it, because it is a very quick turnaround, we'll be doing our own preview regardless. So we'll have the team on, talking all things Newcastle and Spurs. But yeah, hopefully Owen will be able to make it and talk about the game. It's going to be an interesting game. I think most people thought, Spurs would be a difficult one. Not as cut and dry, particularly after that performance midweek. And they've got the likes of Kulusevski and Richarlison missing. They don't seem the same potent Spurs. Could we cause an upset? I'm not sure, but it'd be great to hear the Spurs' opinion on that and how they're building to the game. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. Looking at 7:30 start. Anyone and so many in the chat are always supportive of away days. Make sure you're there. Get your questions in for the guys, and it should be a really, really good one. Looking forward to it.
Cool. And I know there was the question at the end of the last show we did together, Pete, about would you take the win at Everton if it meant you got nothing from the Spurs game? I said I wanted at least a draw. So now we're going for the win. now that we've got the point there, Everton, we're going for the win now. I like it. Let's go for it.
This is the beauty, Daz, is that we got the win now. We got the win that we wanted against Everton. And Eddie Howe said it in his press conference after the game. He said, now we can go and really kind of test ourselves against Spurs. He's almost saying is that it's not a free hit. No game's a free hit, but we can go out and really give everything to that Spurs game, because we know after that we've got a week's rest after this very busy week. So we can go out and just give everything. And look, Spurs have to win. If we lose or take a point, we'll take that, and it's the upset. Spurs have to come out and play against us. The problem is that their midfield is not attack-minded. They're very defensive-minded, and we can exploit that.
Nice one. Well, we will be back after that game as well. And on Sunday at 7:30 is when we'll do a reaction show for the Spurs game. That's what we've penciled in at the moment. And then on Tuesday next week, Loaded Cube is back. So if you fancy coming on and having a chat with us, plenty you have already, and anyone else, and especially new people as well that have never been on with us before. We love to meet a few new people, and then especially the people that are in the chat, chatting to us the whole time in the chat. Come and stick your face on camera as well and have a chat. Come with a topic that you want to discuss, and we'll take it in the cube, where we put you in the main center of attention on the big screen. So that's something on Tuesday to keep an eye out for. Then that's it for the upcoming shows that we've penciled in at the moment, lads. Do you want to go questions, or what are we doing?
Yeah, there's a few good little questions here to go through. Just David R brought up this fantastic stat earlier on. Our current points to games ratio is 1.63. So at this rate, we will end up on 62 points. That would have secured 6 last season. Do you see us keeping up this ratio? He believes it's feasible. Quick answer for me, yes, I believe we can, because we've still got people who want to come back from injury. Daz?
I agree with what you're saying, Richie. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can as well. I think I said at the start of the season, 8th or upwards for us, and I'm delighted that we're sitting in 6th. So, and I think we're solidified in that top 7 now.
Pete?
Yeah, definitely. I said it earlier on in the show. You look at Villa, Southampton, and you look at their games that we can win, which would then average out the amount of points to games ratio that we would get if we won both of those games. I also wouldn't rule out Chelsea at home, last game before the World Cup at St. James's in the Premier League. Great opportunity to get the war flags going, to get the fans going, to really create the buzz in that stadium. And no reason why not, up until the World Cup. And then when James Maddison et al. Joined the club in January, let's have another look again. Let's see.
Which takes us nicely at our next point, actually. And as I said, there's a few questions to get to, so we'll just see if we can keep it to like one word answer if possible. Pete, do you see us going to the top 4 if we could add some extra creativity?
Do I see us going into the top 4? No.
Is top 4 finish possible?
No. Top 6.
Daz?
No, I don't think top 4 is possible. No, don't get to we're really jumping if we could get that, but no, it's a step too far. I think top 7 now.
Yeah, I agree. If we get 7th and above, that should get you European Conference football. At least that's a huge step for Newcastle. I think top 4, it's potentially a season too early, I would say. I even think, to be fair, if we get European football this year, that's probably a year ahead of what was expected anyway. So, it takes the project on a year more than what we thought we were going to be anyway. So, let's have a look. Jonathan Casey here, lads. He says, do you think we will buy a right-sided central defender in the next couple of windows? If Shaw is injured, then it is Lascelles. Daz, for you?
I can see the face of Lascelles everywhere he pops up. He's just very frustrated. I could see him moving on. Just for himself as well, because it must be like he's the captain, but he's not really the captain either. Like it's just for himself. I think he'll want to be playing first team football, and he must know now that he's not going to be getting that unless there's an injury. And even if there's an injury, who knows? It might be Byrne and Target coming in. He's a good to have on the bench at the moment to bring on to see out the last couple of minutes. But yeah, to answer the question, yeah, I could see us in the next maybe summer or the summer after that.
Pete?
Young player as well.
Yeah, I think next summer. I think next summer we'll sign a right-sided centre back. I think Lascelles will leave the club next summer. He'll leave with the blessing of the club, and we'll give him all the respect that he deserves for what he's done throughout the period that he's been at the club. But I think, yeah, we'll look to continue to build and improve. For as good as Shaw's been, we'll look to improve that squad. And I think if there's a player out there that can really bring that next level of quality, I think we'll strengthen in that area for sure. There'll be other areas that we'll look to strengthen, but I think we'll look to make that defence even stronger.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it'll be next the summer window as well.
We'll need to.
Go on, Daz. I'll finish.
I think we need to bulk out the squad as well. Yeah, sorry, Richie, I'm talking over you because my connection is slow. But I think we need to bulk out the squad, and especially if we do get into European places, the amount of games we'll be playing then, we need options.
Yeah. I think we'll address possibly right winger and creative centre midfielder in January in a push. I think that's probably what we'll target in there in January. Right, Gary Milliken's got a fantastic question. Do the lads think that the players on our radar are sitting up and taking notice of what we are doing now? Pete?
100%. If you don't think that someone like James Maddison or Moussa Diaby are not watching Newcastle United and watching the crowd, watching the atmosphere, watching that game last night against Everton when they haven't got a game, and they're not watching Newcastle and thinking, top 6 Newcastle, love to be there, then you're lying to yourselves. Those boys are watching Newcastle United very, very closely. And you know what? If we continue that move into the World Cup, regardless of what Maddison does, I can genuinely feel, regardless of the fact that Leicester are winning 2-0 at the moment, or 3-0 or whatever it is, I think if we go in for Maddison in January, I think that will be the first time that he'll push for a move. I think he'll actually push for it. And he'll go, you know what, I can see the potential in Newcastle. They're not sitting 11th, 12th in the league. They're not sitting 10th. They're sitting in the top 8. And they've got a real good chance of getting European football, which is exactly where James Maddison wants to be. I think he pushes for it big time.
Yep. Daz?
I think the same as Pete, and one other thing I'll add to that is that I think in the summer as well, our wage structure goes up another level. It'll be a bit more added onto it. So, because even talking Bruno getting a new contract and the figures that are being mentioned, so that opens up more options to us as well that would consider coming to us. So all good.
Yeah, I want just the name answer only for this one because there's a couple of little stat points, quick ones we can go through. Gary Milliken again, he wants to know who is our most improved player so far this season. For me, it's Miggy.
Most improved player? It's a close one. For me, it's between Miggy and Shaw. Shaw being the best player on the pitch in a number of games this season, for me, that's levels above. That's not the normal Shaw level that we've come to see. But yeah, you could argue that Miggy making that step up. I'm not going to say which one. Anyone between the two, you could argue for. And to be fair, you'd probably be happy with either.
Daz?
Yeah, I can see what Pete's saying about Char, but I think Char put in a good performance last season. So for me, it has to be Miggy as well. Look at we were getting rid of him in our squad game one, and some of us were keeping Murphy instead of Miggy. Not you, Rich, you know. But yeah, so Miggy has to be the one that's been most improved. Look at all the goals he scored, and like this is the kind of player we thought we were getting when we signed him from Atlanta.
Yep. Right. A couple of these are just the ones we can just breeze over here, so there's nothing really we can comment on it. We have PDK wanted to know who was Botman's partner his last club. That was Jose Font, was his centre-back partner at Lille on that one. Keith just wants to reiterate again what we already know, that Jack Grealish has only scored 1 goal in 10 games this season compared to Miggy's 5 goals in 11. Johnny Two for Life, he wants to know, lad, we have discussed this, and Battleground Europe will be coming back during the World Cup break. We don't know who we're going to invite on because everybody who we had on in the summer is not in the Battleground Europe conversation this season. So that will be an interesting one, and Pete will probably have to dig deep on his contact list. But yet, the originals probably won't be there, so we might have to get a few others on that one.
To be fair, I think some of the originals will be there. I think some of the originals might not want to be there because of the stick that they might get. Leicester Till I Die being one of them. But there might be some additions to that. Little Dan will be wanting to be there because regardless of where Wolves are, he'll just want to be ripping the crap out of every other team that are there. But look, Dan Lawless will be there, no doubt. Little Dan, there'll be a few others, maybe Brighton. Maybe Brentford. We'll look at some of them as maybe new additions, even D from Palace. We'll see, but we'll have a good chat, and it'll be a really, really interesting one. There'll be some fireworks, you can guarantee. But we'll lock in a date for that, and we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, an interesting one here from David R. Do you think Eddie Howe would have turned Boomsong into a superb, solid centre back? Now there is limits. With Shaw, he had the ability that Boomsong didn't. So I think that one, we'll leave that one as it is. And an interesting one just to go out on here. Keith actually said, iSport exclusive. Man United are considering releasing Ronaldo on a free transfer after last night's event. Now, I don't know whether you guys saw this, but obviously he walked off last night after he was classed as an unused sub. However, the Mail actually released a story about an hour before we went online tonight, stating that Ronaldo actually refused to come on last night when Ten Hag wanted to bring him on. So that is one of the reasons why this is potentially in the offering. We'll see. We don't know. There we go. But Daz, back over to you to finish off, mate.
Just to add on that, Ronaldo's put a statement out tonight saying that he's, heat of the moment can have an impact on that and all the rest of it. Ronaldo's handled this situation poorly. Whereas he should have been the pillar of support and strength in that Man United team, he's not, and he hasn't handled that situation well, and it's looked bad on him. And United have done everything in the correct manner. They've handled it absolutely spot on. Fair play to them.
Cool. That is it. That is our show for the night. We've already mentioned the sponsors. We've already mentioned what's coming up. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, and make sure you hit that like button on the way out. And if you'd like to become a member, make sure you jump on a laptop or a PC, and you can join that way. It's $1.99 per month for men's member prizes as well. So that is it. Thanks lads for joining us, and thanks everyone in the chat and then watching this back. We will see you tomorrow for away days. Make sure you tune in. Good night, everyone.
Right.